Alright, for the next video, my LEC 2024 preview series, we're going to cover G2. Obviously, the top dog in Europe for some time, a team that I consider to be, um, the only Western team that is internationally viable due to the way in which they draft and the different compositions they play and things like that. However, this past Worlds, they did lose to NRG and didn't get to quarterfinals and allowed North America to have one tournament where they could say that they were greater than EU. The last 3 years in the regular season, G2s went 26 and 10, 23 and 13, and then last year 20 and 7 in the regular season. They made no changes to their roster, one of the few teams that you can say out of the 45 major region teams that did nothing. They just left it as is. The average age of this roster, probably should have put it down. I don't know what, 6, 10, 19. So 19. So it's 23.8 years old, I think. Nah, that can't be right. Because between the two, well, no, it's 23 and a half. Yeah, 23.8 years old. So a really eccentric team, and I noticed some things doing this that I think maybe even record worthy. Broken Blade, 23 years old, definitely the weak link. I would say he is on the hot seat. If this roster does not get going in winter, if MSI goes poorly, I would argue that G2 should go try and find a better top laner, even if that means importing one in. It'll be hard in between splits and after MSI, but that is something that needs to happen. BB, 100 games, 4.3 KDA, 7.5 CS per minute, 54.9 KP. I mean, behind on average by quite a bit. 20.8 gold share, 5.16 damage per minute, 21.4 damage share. So this team dealt a lot of damage, and I mean, it's a good team, so it dominated its domestic opponents. Up 25 gold at 15 minutes, but down 7 CS, 65 XP. 52 solo kills, which is nice, and 22 champions played. Jax, Kesante, and Olaf being his three most played, they account for 39% of his games. Yike, going into his second season, is also 23 years old. A lot of people forget that he is older for this point in his career. 100 games played, 5.1 KDA, 5.8 CS per minute, 72 KP. He is best as a carry. We saw that in his champion pool. We saw that in the way he played the game. Sejuani barely played. That's pure facilitator, right? And then you see his most played. And you say, oh, well, yeah, that makes sense. 19.8 gold share, 458 damage per minute, 19.2 damage share. On average, and this includes like a good chunk of international games, he is ahead of his opponents at 15 minutes. Getting ahead, finding advantages in pathing. 450 gold, 7 CS, 280 XP, 20 solo kills, 22 champions played as well. Maokai, Rel, Belveth. So Rel, facilitator, Maokai can do both, but Belveth, a disgusting champion. Anytime I see somebody pick Belveth, I assume that team's going to lose. G2 were able to do well with it domestically, but once they pulled it out internationally, I said it is over. Those three account for 43% of his games. Mid lane, we have Caps. At 24 years old, Caps is, you could argue, the best Western mid laner outright. Can do carry and facilitate. He's world class. He is certainly world class. Some could argue he is the greatest Western player of all time. 3.5 KDA, 8.2 CS per minute, 60.9 KP. Those numbers are not good, though, right? So, not very involved, and at the same time, very low resources. And who is eating up these resources? Looking at this roster, I don't know who is actually getting farm. The farm is just dying, essentially, which is not efficient either. 21.7 gold share, 574 damage per minute was 23.7% of damage. On average, up 170 gold, 1 CS, 125 XP at 15 minutes. 38 solo kills, and 32 champions played. I am hard-pressed to believe that there are many players that have played 32 champions in a season at the major region level. In 100 games, too. Like, in a champion per game basis. With that many games, I doubt that there are many, if any. And that is something that I think is real interesting. And it makes sense because G2 glorified scrimmed for a lot of last year. And I thought that would help them internationally. And in the end, it didn't. But I think that's the right idea. Jace, Tristana, and Nico, his 3 most played. And they only account for 27% of his games because he played so many different champions. Bot lane, we have Hansama, 24 years old, 5.3 KDA, 9.3 CS per minute, 65.6 KP. Low resource, not getting a lot of gold. 24.2 gold share, 653 damage per minute, 26.7% of damage. He led the way in the damage department. This team really pretty closely split in damage. Hans leading, but at the same time, I think there are some games that we could look back at and say Hans was definitely weak side. Up 315 gold, 6 CS, 230 XP, 15 solo kills, 18 champions played. Kesa, Jinx, and Draven, his 3 most played, accounting for 39% of his games. So a Jinx thrown in there. Obviously the Draven, a champion that got permabanned internationally. A solid player. I don't think Hans has it at the world stage. But domestically, he does very well. And I don't think it's a play. It's a mechanical thing. I think it's a pressure deal for him. And then there's Mickey X, who I think you could argue right now is the best Western player. He is world class. Honestly, I think he's in that conversation for top 5 to 10 support in the world. Can definitely do a lot of different things. Is very effective. A lot of people will probably just write him off because of where he plays and where he's from, but I think that's just, ridiculous. 3.5 KDA, 70 KP, 215 damage per minute, 3.33 vision score per minute, placed under 9 wards every 5 minutes. 2 control wards every 5 minutes, clears 2 wards every 5 minutes. That's good, right? You're not wasting too much gold. 22 champions played. Nautilus, Braum, and Rakan accounting for 41% of his games. At coach, we have Dylan Falco. Over his career in regular season games, 163 and 111. Playoffs, regional finals, all that jazz, 86 and 52. Internationally, 54 and 47. Formerly Fnatic's head coach, has been G2's coach the last couple of years. So this roster, running it back, and there's no reason not to, the way they dominated domestically last year. But if they want to get better internationally, they have to look at top lane and see if they can improve. Because BB is a little bit gapped up there, and this is a team that doesn't even bother trying to import, and it doesn't have to domestically, but if it wants to get better internationally, that may have to be a thing, or find some top laner in ERLs and see if they can work with him. So that's it for the video. Thank you for watching. If you liked the video, like it. Subscribe to the channel for daily League of Legends content. Follow me on Twitter, join the Discord, become a YouTube supporter, and hope to see you again tomorrow.